Aloha, y'all. Daniel Aaron with you. Well, I guess I could say Reverend Daniel Aaron. Still sounds a little strange for me to say it, and I don't know if I will say it like that much. And yet, I also know there's a lot in a name. So, without going too much into that, this video in this series is related to my coming out as a minister, and for the first time 31 years later using that title. More directly, though, this is a series where I am so grateful and blessed to honor my mentors, or actually, let's be honest, some of them, because I'm aiming for or committed to 30 days of it. And truth is, I'm really lucky. I've had so many great, phenomenal mentors, coaches, and teachers, way more than 30. So I'm curious to see which I focus on today. Goes all the way back for me to before I knew about personal development, spiritual development, before I knew there was a thing called spirituality. This goes to when I was in college. And somewhat embarrassing to say, I screwed around a bunch in high school on the level that I just didn't care. I didn't get the point. I was not motivated. And so for the first 3 years, I got a lot of bad grades. I was like, I don't care. So what? And then somewhere in my junior year, it hit me, hey, if I want to go to college, and by the way, back then, 400 years ago, when I was 17, 16, going to college seemed like a really good idea. It was, in fact, kind of like the only thing to do. I realized, like, if I want to go to college, I better get some good grades. So my senior year, I got great grades, which sadly put me in the camp of an underachiever, which is all to say I went to idiot college in Podunk, Virginia. It was the only school I could get into, or one of the only ones. And how, I don't want to say bad, how rudimentary was this school and the town? Well, the town had one grocery store, 4 churches, and 4 bars. And it had the unique distinction in the United States as being the very last county to reopen their schools after Brown versus Board of Education passed. So, in case you don't know what all of that means, Brown versus Board of Education was a civil rights bill that made it illegal in the United States to have segregated schools. In other words, it said that Black children, right, or colored as they were called then, or now I guess we'd say African American, must go to school with the white children. It's not fair to separate them. So the county where the school was that I was going to, the college, they concluded we'd rather not open our schools at all than have segregated schools, which is all a bit to tell you what it was like in that town. Far from enlightened. However, a couple important things happened that year for me. One is I learned that I wasn't going to make it as a symphony musician. I thought I was. I was a music major. I realized I don't have the discipline to practice 6 hours a day. So I let it go. At the same time, I took my very first philosophy class. Oh my goodness, I was so excited. And so that led me to take another philosophy class, both classes with the same teacher, an amazing man. And you know what it's like when you've got one of those teachers that inspires you, that lights you up in some way, that brings you to wanting to learn and go deeper. Well, he was that for me. And so much so that I developed a real attachment to him. And maybe I think he had some for me too, because I loved what we were doing and studying, and I really poured myself into the work. And I think for him, that was a bit rare, that the other students really weren't doing work that was maybe as deliberate or meaningful. That was what he shared with me. So toward the end of my first year of university there, I made sure I got good grades so I could transfer to a better school. And so as I finished that first year of college, I'm like, all right, I'm moving, I'm switching, I'm transferring. And I felt badly to leave Dr. Peale. I was attached, so I felt sad myself, and I also felt like I'd be disappointing him. Nonetheless, it's what was happening. And I remember right at the end of the semester, went into his office to say, see you later. We had a really nice discussion. And he said to me, do you know who my father is? I said, no, I have no idea. And he said, well, my father is a famous author, and he's most famous for a book called The Power of Positive Thinking. I'd never heard of it. I'd never heard of spirituality. Positive psychology was not even invented then. Nonetheless, my professor, John S. Peale, he said, and that book's great and important, and you would do well to read his autobiography. I said, oh, okay. I didn't ask more. He gave me a copy of it, and I said, thank you. And we had a teary hug goodbye, and I left. Well, a few days later, I'm back at my family home and summer vacation, and I'm working and time reading the book. And I read the book, and whew, holy moly, did it change my life. So Dr. Peale Jr., John S. Peale, he was a luminary in my life. And, when I look back at all of my mentors, the path, right, and the work I do now as an author and a coach and a teacher, it's so deeply and intricately related to philosophy, right? My degree ended up being philosophy and religion, double major in English. And for so many years, people said to me, what are you going to do with that? How are you going to get a job with that? And I always said, well, I don't know. But I knew, though, that what I had understood with Dr. Peale was this is important. Philosophy, love of wisdom, learning a way of seeing myself, to think, to understand the world. I know it's important. And it's become the cornerstone of my life and my work with clients and students. And so no way that I could ever sufficiently thank Dr. Peale. And since I can't put it into words, I will stop talking now. Thank you so much for tuning in. Who, for you, has been a teacher, mentor, guide, coach that has made the difference in your life? A difference, a significant difference. Who has helped shape you? I'd love to hear from you. Put it in the comments. And if you have any curiosity or wondering or comments or questions about me and the title Reverend, feel free to put that in the comments. And you can see in the description below here too, I link to a longer piece of writing I did, which explains that more. So y'all, thank you so much for tuning in. Aloha. I love you.